Hello and welcome to the Jimmy V Show. I'm Justin.
And I'm Timmy V.
And this is our show. Let me give you a little background on what motivates Timmy and myself here to start our own show, and it's to educate you folks out there in Jacksonville, the state of Florida, the rest of the United States, and the rest of the world, in order to educate you on what's going on around here and also the rest of the world.
Yeah, so to give you some background information about us, we were roommates for about 5 years. Started out in our freshman year at college.
5 wholesome years.
Very nice. But recently this guy got married, so I kind of got kicked out.
Yep, my beautiful wife Dominique and I live here in Ponte Vedra. And Timmy V, yes, he's single, ladies, but please, I will give you his phone number after the show.
You're making me blush, man.
It's okay. But anyway, let's get to the news. So, we first want to explain to you that we're going to give you 4 categories every week that we are going to go through. The first category is going to be kudos. Timmy, tell them a little bit about what kudos is.
Kudos, we're pretty much acknowledging people that are in the news that have done something great. We're just going to give you their story.
And a pat on the back and some recognition. The next thing that we have is called For Shame. And as I'm sure you can tell, it's about people who did something that was shameful, and we are going to bring the truth to life. As they say in French, au naturel, which means in the nude. We are going to bring the news in the nude. Not us nude, but the news.
Get it right, people.
Buff and the truth. Please, people.
We're exposing things, all right?
Yes, the truth about these scandals. The next thing that we have, Timmy, tell them.
Is pay your respect. We're going to be showing our respect for the people that have lost their lives this past week in the news. People that have done something, that we need to give them some recognition for what they did and, show our respect.
Very true. And the last thing that we have, as Timmy V likes to call it, the what the? The what the section, or the say what? This is our people who have done something just so crazy. And it could be partially, for shame. Or kudos. Or a mixture of the two, but they are crazy nonetheless. So that's our what the section. So let's get started. We will start with the kudos section, and it will be Timmy V starting us off, telling us about a story of a guy who really deserves 2 pats on the back. Timmy?
All right, we got this 100-year-old guy. I'm sure you guys have all heard about it, but we're going to tell you anyway. He was a 100-year-old man, and he completed a marathon. Now, I don't know about you, but my grandpa, he is sitting at the couch watching TV, and he is not running a marathon. So kudos to this guy.
Kudos.
We're going to show you a picture of him real quick.
Let's show you a picture of the 100-year-old man.
Yes, it says Sikhs in the City on his shirt.
He is Sikhs in the City, a sexy man he is. And yes, as Timmy had mentioned, his grandpa is sitting at home eating some Doritos right now and not running a marathon, so kudos to that man.
Yes. All right, Justin, you're going to fill us in on the next kudos section?
The next kudos story that we have is about a man named Drew Houston. Most of you probably have no idea who he is, but 50 million of you use his software program called Dropbox. Dropbox is a sharing device online where you can basically upload your photos, your videos, passwords even, and you can have private folders and also public ones so your friends can view them as well. And Drew Houston, to give you a little background, started the company back in 2009, wherein he was invited to the corporate headquarters of Apple Computer by Steve Jobs, who passed away, as I'm sure all of you know, about a week and a half ago. And pay your respect.
Pay your respect.
And Drew Houston sits in front of Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs tells him, I want your Dropbox idea. He says, I'll pay you $100 million for it. And Drew Houston turns his back on Steve Jobs. He says, no way. If I'm going to start my own company, I want to be the CEO and I want to run things my way. Well, good for Drew Houston, because today Dropbox is worth $4 billion. So way more than $100 million. And Steve Jobs told him when he left his office that day, he said, if you leave here without taking my offer, I'm going to make something to compete with you that'll put you out of business. Well, Steve Jobs was, part of the many people who put together iCloud, very similar sharing service, but they have not put Dropbox out of business. And like I said, Dropbox is getting one new user every second to go on top of their 50 million already users. Timmy, bring us into the next story.
Well, speaking of Apple, we have the iPhone 4S going on sale.
Which I have on pre-order, back order. Yes, that means I don't have it yet, but I pre-ordered it October 7th. Should come any day now.
And Apple, if you don't get it to them in 2 weeks, there's going to be some heck to pay. All right?
That's the truth.
Just letting you know. All right, so they sold over $1 million pre-order in 24 hours and $4 million in opening weekend. So that's pretty phenomenal. Kudos to you, iPhone.
And just so you guys know, to clarify, it's actually 1 million phones sold. I know I put a $sign there. I went to trick them and it worked. It's really 1 million iPhones sold in 24 hours, and 4 million iPhones were sold in the first weekend of their debut, which means if you times that by the $300, $400 it is per iPhone, $750. If you don't have an upgrade available, that's a lot of cheddar, yo, to say the least. Make it rain. That is it for our kudos section today. We hope that you were informed a little bit and learned something that you did not know. The next topic that we have for you is some stories on
For shame. All right.
And our first for shame is hackers hit Sesame Street with porn. I know a lot of you are thinking right now, what the? But really, this is a for shame moment right here. What happened was Sesame Street has over 250 channels currently on YouTube that little kids watch every day. There were hackers who broke into the Sesame Street channels, every single one of them, and put sexual activity in place of the kids' programs. Now, if you have kids at home right now, I hope that you will shield their ears and their eyes. I'm just kidding. We're not going to show you any pictures or say anything dirty. That's not our style.
No.
But they don't have any idea who did this. The FBI is still investigating. All of the channels were put back to normal after, I think it was 20 minutes and about 28 views from small children. So that was tragic. Timmy V, tell them about something else that happened this week that was extremely tragic.
Goodness gracious, man. We got a landlord who discovered 4 mentally disabled people chained in a boiler room. Where was that? In Pennsylvania?
I think that was... Oh, man, that's a good question. Where was that? Google's our best friend on this show, ladies and gentlemen. Let us pull up exactly where they were found. That was Pennsylvania, Philadelphia.
Booyah!
Timmy V, booyah. But there was a violent barking dog also guarding them. Their poop and pee and feces all around these 4 mentally disabled people, locked in a basement boiler room with chains on the door. Timmy V, tell them why.
They were stealing their Social Security money. And that's what's really got me shaking my head right now. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but I'm glad these people got caught. The boiler room, it was said to be a basement beneath a basement. Nobody ever knew what was going on, but there was some suspicious activity that led to the finding of these goings on.
The landlord heard a dog barking, as I recall, and he went to the basement and he saw chains on the boiler room door. He got the chains removed, walked inside, saw sleeping bags, blankets, and pillows on the floor with a bucket full of water like a dog would be drinking out of it. A vicious dog was there barking. He lifted up the sheets and saw 4 mentally disabled people underneath who had no idea how they got there or where they came from. The suspects were arrested, 3 of them initially. One, who was the daughter of one of them, was actually arrested today. We have a picture of the initial 3 suspects, so if you see them on the streets, please hide your kids, hide your wife. I don't mean to make light of a bad situation, but seriously, you need to hide from these people right here.
We gonna find you.
We gonna find you. So here are the people right here. Let's see if I can clear this up a little bit.
Oh no.
Oh no. There they are. Hopefully you can see them. We don't know if you can see these people or not right now. We can only hope for the best with our new camera. So we apologize if you were not able to see that image or earlier of the 100-year-old man who finished the marathon. This show is still a work in progress. Bear with us. We have some lighting issues, and our producers are working on that as we speak. Yes.
All right, Justin. let them know about this guy from Florida.
All right. Well, there is a man named Oba Chandler. For those of you who remember him, in 1989, he was accused of murdering a woman and her 2 teenage daughters after they took a vacation together at Disney. It took 5 years for this man to be sentenced and convicted of the crime. So in 1994, he was convicted. Now, 22 years after the crime was committed, he's finally sentenced to death row. He will be put, I hate to say put down because it makes him sound like an animal, but he will be executed on November 15th. For those of you who care, like I said, that's Oba Chandler from a 1989 murder. The judge who sentenced him to death row, it is his second death row sentence that he has given since his term as judge, and that is a big deal. For more info, please go to CNN.com. Timmy, please lead us in the good old-fashioned section of Pay Your Respect, where we will admire some people who have done some great things, and Timmy's going to lead us off and tell us about a great man. But first, before he does, I like the suspense. I wanted to tell you one more for shame. 9-year-old daughter was caught by police driving around her 39-year-old drunk dad as a designated driver. Crazy, folks, I know. This should almost be under the what the section as well.
What the?
Exactly. And just to give you a little recap of what happened, there was a gas station that had it on video. This girl, it was a red van driving up to the pump, and they look, and the 9-year-old girl gets out of the driver's seat, and her dad gets out of the passenger seat. They go into the gas station. The dad buys a pack of cigarettes, buys her a caramel apple, and then tells the cashier that he's drunk, and this is his chauffeur, his designated driver, and that she can drive fine. So they go back. She gets back in with her caramel apple into the driver's seat. He gets back into the passenger seat. A customer heard the whole thing, followed them, called the police, and was following them. The funny thing is the police are on the phone to them and say, you know, is she driving off the road? Is she going to hurt somebody? And the guy starts laughing. He says, honestly, she's a really great driver. He's like, I can't even believe this myself. Police pull the girl over, and guess what the girl's first words are? She looks at the police officer and says, why'd you pull me over? 9 years old. And she says, why'd you pull me over? So she's 40. You know, a 9-year-old girl in a 40-year-old, not a 40-year-old body, but a 9-year-old girl in a 40-year-old mind.
Yep.
And the dad actually had the audacity to tell police that he can do with his 9-year-old daughter whatever he wants, meaning he could have her drive him around. Well, he actually had his court hearing today, and he basically now says that he's a good parent who made a bad decision, and he's in court on charges for child abuse. And, I mean, besides that, he's probably not going to see his daughter for a long time. So.
And the worst part about it is whenever the cops questioned him about it, he said that he wasn't drunk and he was just teaching his daughter how to drive. That really has me shaking my head. I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you confess? I mean, you're now lying to an officer?
The daughter even told the police that he was drinking whiskey all day.
Yeah,
and he says, exactly. And he says, I was just teaching my daughter how to drive. Well, you need to teach yourself how to parent, my friend.
Yes.
And that is the end of
For Shame
for this week.
All right. We're going to go directly into the Pay Your Respect, and we're going to pay our respects to Dan Wheeldon, the Indianapolis 500 winner this year. No. Was it this year? Dang it, I hate this. Anyways, he won the Indianapolis 500. That's a pretty big deal. This dude's only 33 years old. I mean, that's 11 years older than I am. Pretty phenomenal. Loved by all his teammates, his coworkers.
NASCAR.
They really were choked up. Saw a interview with Danica Patrick, and she was just choked up. His personal assistant, who was also his wife, he left behind 2 young boys. So definitely our prayers go out to your family, Dan Wheeldon.
Dan Wheeldon, it was in a 15-car pileup too, just in a NASCAR race. So, it's one of those things where I have a lot of respect for those drivers out there. It's definitely not something that's safe. And in a way, we're glad that just nobody else was, seriously injured or killed in that 15-car pileup, because it was a huge accident that happened. And I will go into somebody that I'm sure none of you know or have ever heard of, but he was the man who Steve Jobs stood on the shoulders of in order to have every smartphone that there is today. And his name is Dennis Ritchie, who passed away on the 8th of this month, but it was not actually publicly broadcasted until the 13th of this past week. Dennis Ritchie is the father of computer programming. For those of you who do not know him, he has a PhD from Harvard in mathematics, and he actually in 1969 was working with Bell Laboratories, and he created the C programming language for the operating system that at the time was called Munix, that he ended up in 1972 creating Unix, which is what Linux is based off of, C++, C#, Java, J2EE. Everything pretty much that's used today was based on that original C programming language and the original operating system Unix, which he had a part in both of them. So I know most of you people, if you're not IT geeks or computer nerds, know what I'm talking about, but just look at your iPhone, look at your computer, look at whatever, and know that that man is the reason that we have the technology we have today and that you're able to use it. So our prayers go out to his family and his friends. He was 70 years old. Steve Jobs, as you know, who passed a week before that, was 56. So that both of the men, I mean, not terribly old, but both fighting long-term illnesses and ailments. So there were some jokes, that were going on, and not, like I said, not to make light of the situation, but people were saying, God took Steve Jobs, and then God took Dennis Ritchie, so he must have some sort of very user-friendly operating system going on in heaven right now that he's creating. Maybe iGod or G++. Who knows? But he's got the best of the best, and that's a fact.
That's got me saying, what the?
Exactly. That will lead us into our what the section. We have about 9 minutes left of this our 30-minute segment of the show, so we're going to knock out a few what does together that went on this week, and then we're going to wrap it up, let you guys go, and give you guys the flavor of the week.
All right, we're first going to touch on Occupy Wall Street. Now, this is a phenomenon. It pretty much is a phenomenon. It's going on 1,500 strong events around the world in 82 countries, and it all started at Wall Street in New York City.
Yeah, it started August 17th. They actually camped out in what they call Liberty Plaza, which changed its name now. I forget the name of it. I don't know if you remember, Timmy.
I don't.
But it was called Liberty Plaza. That's what everyone in New York refers to it as, where they are going against corporate greed and basically Wall Street making so much money and having so much corruption that it screws the rest of us in society, the 99%, as they call them, out of jobs, out of money, and we have a ton of student loans to pay off.
Yep. It's just the epitome of what's going on in our economic climate right now, and I mean, it really, all the people down there are saying, what the?
Exactly.
They really want to know what's going on, and they want to put it in to the 1%, making decisions for the rest of us. We want to be part of this, and we want to get jobs flowing back again. We don't want outsourcing. We don't want a greed, and we don't want people that are getting money from the government frivolously spending it. So
and Timmy V and I would like, that's our topic of the week. We'd like for you all on this YouTube video to subscribe, of course. Watch us every week. Our goal initially is to have, say, 50 views a week. If we can get that, we'll move up from there. The ultimate goal is to go global, be on all the news stations. They're going to put clips of us on there. But please write on our YouTube video, and this week the discussion is going to be on Occupy Wall Street. Let's please keep it PG. We don't want anyone getting too huffy-puffy or offended. That's not our style. We just want a good conversation. Let us know. Are you pro? What's going on up there, or are you against it? Are you 99%? Are you 1%? Are you 53%? Are you, as Herman Cain says, 999? There's a bunch of options you can choose from. If you are ill-informed and you'd still like to learn more about Occupy Wall Street or anything we've talked about tonight, you can obviously Google it. Most of these articles have come from either CNN.com or LinkedIn.com, and you can search most of these on there. But we're actually going to transition because there's a ton we could talk about all day about 18,000 people marching on the Brooklyn Bridge with 700 police arrests where they're obtaining the buses, police officers are, to ship all these people to the jails. And, I mean, it's just amazing protests, I guess you'd say, going on up there. It's really like a revolution.
Yep.
So, like I said, if you want to learn more, please look into it. It's a hot topic. But there's a woman in France that I just wanted to touch base on. This is a crazy story that makes me and Timmy say,
What the?
and this woman was a teacher in elementary school, and during the morning break, she went into the middle of the playground, and this school has over 3,500 kids. She poured gasoline all over her body, and she lit herself on fire. The craziest part is people went up, children and adults, to put her out, try to help her. And she was yelling, let me go, leave me alone. God told me to do this. Now, I don't know what, kind of God that lady worships. But the fact that she lit herself on fire in front of tons of kids, and these kids are traumatized now and don't know what to do, and there's psychologists and psychiatrists working with them every day. It's just an absolute crazy story. I mean, Timmy, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't understand, being Christian, I really can't understand why anybody would say that God would tell them to do that. Definitely a psychiatric issue, and it needs to get. Glad that she is okay though.
No, she died.
She died.
Yeah, it's kind of like a pay your respect, but I don't really know.
As well.
It's a for shame, a pay your respect. Oh, what the? Not many kudos go out, but yeah, she was burned alive. They actually, when they first put her out with towels, she was still alive. They transported her to the hospital in the ambulance, and she died on the way to the hospital. So the woman did pass, so there's no way to question her motives or really anything. What. But everyone did explain that she was depressed. She was on medication for that. She had parent-teacher conferences where she would freak out and yell at the parents and the students all said she was extremely strict all of the time. So, there's some stuff leading up to it. It's still a very sad event for both the kids, the parents, the teacher. It was a sad day that happened late last week.
My heart definitely goes out to the kids there. That's not something many of us have to endure and deal with. Like the kids are going to have to deal with it for the rest of their lives. So my heart goes out to the kids.
But speaking of a what the story that actually has not the happiest ending for animals, but a happy ending for people so far, is the 78 animals. Exotic animals, 78 of them that were released in eastern Ohio in Zanesville. And this is a crazy story, my people out there, to listen to. There was a man who owned 78 exotic animals, including wolves, grizzly bears, camels, giraffes, lions, cheetahs, tigers, monkeys, etc., to say the least.
It's ridiculous. How'd he get all these into this country? That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. This man was arrested a year ago for 5 illegal firearms, automatic weapons, spent a year in prison, just got out this past week, came back to his farm of animals, wanted to kill himself, so before he shot himself in the head, he decided he was going to release all of his animals into the public. Now, the crazy thing is, when you read stories about it, people actually went outside and they saw tigers chasing their horses at their ranch. They saw monkeys climbing up on the local donut shop. There was people driving on the highway who saw cheetahs running across, grizzly bears, wolves, lions, giraffes, and camels walking along the side of the highway. Could you imagine going out to your car and you're unlocking it, and all of a sudden you look up in front of your car, and that ain't just no regular cat.
That's a cheetah.
That's a cheetah sitting there staring at you.
What about if a monkey came up to you and ripped your face off like the chimpanzee did in Connecticut? That would be freaky.
Connecticut, my people. Please, Timmy, that's a sore subject.
Represent.
Yes, exactly. But the sad part for the animals was most of them had to be put down. They tried to use tranquilizers on some of them, but it didn't work necessarily. Those big animals, when they have a lot of, adrenaline moving and pumping, they're just coming at you anyway. And so the police were armed with shotguns. The children were warned to stay inside. Right now they've captured or killed all of the animals except for one who's still on the loose. I don't know what type of animal it is. I'm kind of hoping it's a giraffe. That would kind of be hilarious that the only one they didn't see is the giraffe. Maybe he's hiding in the woods from the rain. But that story to me is just wow.
And the other thing is, 5 years prior to that, he got arrested for animal cruelty, correct?
Correct.
So, why was he allowed to have 78 exotic animals.
I know. They're so beautiful and pretty. It's a shame to see people cruel to them, and then it's an even bigger shame to see a guy who wanted to take his life and figured that maybe he had a shot to take somebody else's life, or lives too. I mean, that's the one that prays God that no kids or adults that they know of got hurt. Because think about if you bump into a lion in a parking lot before there was all these warnings, and then, I mean, you're a done deal.
Yep. Well, on that note, we're going to end the show. Right on time, 9 o'clock.
Right on time. That was a 30-minute segment for us tonight. Started at 8:30 on October 19th. I wish I had said that in the beginning. Well, now you know what day we recorded this. So if you ever watch in the future, this was pretty much the first couple weeks of October. What was in the news? There's some other crazy things that have happened that I can let you know real quick if you want to research them, such as the McDonald's employee. I forget where it was, but he got mad at a customer. Customer actually got even more mad at him, jumped over the counter, 2 of them, and the guy who worked there grabbed a metal rod and just started beating the 2 customers that jumped over the counter. While they were on the ground, he kept beating them. It's filmed on video, and they were telling him to stop. He's arrested, fired from McDonald's for assault charges. That was pretty crazy in the news. There's been, just some other crazy stuff going on. A lot of talk on Siri, the new iPhone 4S.
Yeah.
Personal assistant. There's some funny things that you can say to it and that it will respond to you. That's definitely something to look up. There's lots of blogs on that.
Yep.
Timmy V and I appreciate you all watching the first Jimmy V show, the inaugural.
Thank you so much.
And like I said, we're hoping to go global with this soon. We hope that you will join in with us next week, which we'll go over. It'll be Wednesday night. We'll be doing it again to go over the next week of news. And we're going to give you right now the flavor of the week. So let me grab this right here.
Yes. My favorite.
This flavor of the week is brought to you by...
Oh, Charlie's.
Oh, Charlie's, the best barbecue sauce in town. My people, please visit O'Charlie's, and when you get there, ask them for the sweet Baby Ray's, because Sweet Baby Ray's original award-winning barbecue sauce makes my tummy go mm-mm. And just so you know, I wish I had a Pillsbury Doughboy like Timmy V that I could always poke and go woo-hoo. Exactly. And what the?
What the?
So, people, thank you for joining us. And Sweet Baby Ray's thanks you, and so does O'Charlie's. As always, my people,
keep it saucy.
Keep it saucy, and stay on our minds, because we know that we're going to be staying on yours. Thanks, Jacksonville. Thanks, United States. Thanks, world. And we will see you next week on
The Jimmy V Show!
And that's a wrap.
Peace. You couldn't even